Devin Duvernay. Anyway, welcome in, everyone. Week 9's in the books. Hope your fantasy teams did well. Eric, it's been a while since we've seen you. I think 2 weeks now. How's everything going? How'd your fantasy teams do? How's life?
I've been out of the loop. I don't know how my teams have done, but I did move from Tacoma to Phoenix, so life has been really good. Just kind of meandered my way down the West Coast, and just got into Phoenix today, so it's good to be back.
Nice. Good old Phoenix, Arizona. Good place, I think. I don't know. I've never been.
I also
I guess you'll find out.
Yeah.
Richmond, what about you? How's life? How's your fantasy teams doing?
Life is good. Fantasy was hit or miss. Drafting Saquon and Nick Chubb in a lot of leagues late was a great strategy until this week when they were both on bye. In which case, I was starting Cam Akers and James Robinson, and yep. So that went as well as you thought it would go.
The Achilles brothers.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so your 0.5 points probably didn't help you win, but yeah, it happens. The bye weeks hit sometimes, and it's just the way it is. But now you're good again, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, my week was so fantasy-wise. I mean, it wasn't the worst, wasn't the best. Actually, I'm up to like a 5-win streak in one league that I'm supposed to be heavily tanking in. So started like 0-4 or something like that. And now I'm like, I don't want to win my team. But anyway, it's still coming. Well, yeah, the Devin Duvernay at the beginning, that was my call. That was my shot last week, and he didn't show up at all. So that was kind of disappointing. Isaiah Likely looked pretty good on his one catch that was a touchdown. So as far as tight ends go, that's all you can ask for.
A one-hit wonder.
Josh Palmer, they got to throw somewhere. So he did his job.
Good. He looked really good.
Yeah, he actually doesn't look bad. I still don't think he ever turns into that like number one go-to guy there, but I think he's always going to be a solid piece.
Definitely not on that offense.
Yeah.
As long as Keenan Allen is there and Mike Williams. But
well, if Keenan Allen's hamstring has anything to say about it, then Keenan Allen won't be there. But anyway, and then Jamal Williams is just that pestering thorn in the side of DeAndre Swift's 5 carries a week. Or did they limit him to 4 this week?
He's been in and out, I think, and I think a lot of it is just the coach managing his reps.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you hear what they said, Eric? Because that was.
I know that he's been a little fishy about like maybe let's give him 2 more carries this next week. Something funny.
They basically, they gave him 5 carries, and they came out and said we gave him probably a few too many carries. Or something to that effect. So everyone was like,
so he should have rested, or like
right, exactly.
He should have pulled an Isaiah Likely. Really, it's just like one hit touchdown.
I don't know. It sucks because I definitely in my redraft have a lot of DeAndre Swift, but it is what it is. All right, guys, let's talk about the really probably biggest injury of the week, and with Josh Allen's elbow. He's got a UCL sprain. Video pretty much that's what it looked like. I don't know if y'all saw the video of it.
Yep.
Right after it happened, he launched a 70-yard pass. So people were like, oh, I guess he's not really hurt. Non-participant today, though. So, like, Richmond, how are we feeling about Josh Allen?
I think it's something to watch. I mean, I think definitely him not practicing is the good move to make. Watching the video, I mean, it looks like he just got cranked into that external rotation valgus with his elbow. That's definitely going to crank on the UCL and maybe his ulnar nerve. So, the fact that he was able to throw right afterwards and not have his elbow kind of gap open on him and not feel great is probably a good sign. But definitely, he needs to take a rest for a little while and let that elbow kind of feel better for a few days. I could definitely see him not playing this week, but hopefully he doesn't miss more than a couple weeks. I would say I know last time they said he missed 4 weeks. He had a similar injury, so it's definitely it's a weird injury. I've seen a few quarterbacks who have had this injury before. I see mostly baseball players with it, and they get shut down for a while, but they're not getting to the same kind of layback as a quarterback as you are as a pitcher. The quarterbacks that I've seen from it were able to mostly bounce back pretty quickly, and theirs was more of a tackling injury than it was a throwing injury or a crank injury like he had. So I feel pretty confident that this is hopefully something that's only going to last like a week or two for him. But because of the history of it lasting 4 weeks, um, not knowing the comparison between how the injuries happened last time, they could last up to that, I would say, but it probably shouldn't last much longer than that as long as there's no significant damage done.
Yeah, Richmond, you interned with the San Francisco Giants, right?
Yep.
And how would they rehab a UCL, or is it mostly rest?
So that's it's like a totally different story for baseball players with UCL. Theirs is more of an overuse, where his is more of like a trauma injury. So it's not super comparable because most of their rehab is focusing on shoulder strengthening and range of motion. Where his is basically make sure the elbow is strong and then work him back into throwing as long as the inflammation and pain is down. So it's kind of hard to compare the two because it's overuse versus trauma. And being trauma, it's kind of just waiting for that inflammation and for the elbow to kind of get quiet so that he can throw.
Do you guys think this is something that let's base this off the assumption that he's not going to do more damage unless he gets cranked on again? Yeah. Could they possibly just kind of numb the area and have him play through it, or what?
That's definitely something they could do. Give him an injection and see if he can go. The one thing about that is putting an injection in that area is not super great for those tendons and ligaments that are holding the elbow together. So something the NFL is not super afraid to do, but not something I would say would be super suggestible to do kind of with all that's going on in that part of the elbow.
Sure. All right. Well, let's keep an eye on Josh Allen's practice status as we go. Obviously, we all pretty much know that Wednesday, if they're going to get a rest day, that's the rest day to get. Moving on, Matthew Stafford popped up on the injury report today as a non-participant in concussion protocol. This kind of sprung up out of nowhere, and we've kind of discussed this before. It's not really a good sign when you're a non-participant on Wednesday. Usually you want to at least be a limited participant. So it sounds like this is something that he took a shot to the head, and then either Monday or Tuesday he came in reporting symptoms. And that's when he got placed in concussion protocol. So, Eric, how are we feeling about Stafford?
Yeah, I mean, I think the timeline might explain his no practice today, where like if he had the clear injury on Sunday, and then even Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he's not practicing, that's a bigger issue for me. Whereas if he sort of reported his symptoms later in the week, like Monday, Tuesday, or even today, and then he's not practicing, this could be sort of their protocol, like, okay, no practice on the first day. Let's see how you're doing, later in the week. So I guess what I'm thinking is that this could just be delaying a very normal process for what they might be considering to be mild. But you don't want to see, your athlete or your fantasy player not playing or not practicing at all on Wednesday. That's generally a bad sign. So I think when it comes to playing Matt Stafford over another viable quarterback that you have, you just have to follow the practice reports. You want to see at least the limited practices coming in, Thursday, and definitely full practice if you can on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is I don't know a lot of people that are relying on Stafford right now.
If you are, then you're probably not.
This worries me more for Cooper Kupp than it necessarily does for Stafford, because Stafford just peppers Cooper Kupp with targets. And Who is I don't even know who the backup is. Who's the backup?
It's Wolford, John Wolford. He started a couple games for them last year when Stafford was out.
And I'm sure he's gonna try to get the ball to Cooper Kupp, but it's definitely not going to be the same.
No, I mean, you're probably going to lose a lot of the more premium targets, the red zone targets, the deep balls. I think that they really didn't. I don't remember, but I just can't imagine them relying on Wolford the same way that they game planned with Matt Stafford, who has that rocket arm. So I'm with you. I think Cooper Kupp is the most concerning piece of this news.
Yeah, so
you're still playing him, but
yeah. So a good thing is, so Wolford, when he did play last week, I think he played the first playoff game for them, and he played the last game of the season where they had to beat the Cardinals in order to make it into the playoffs, and he beat the Cardinals.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, 2020. That was the last time. That was his last start, so not last year, but
he threw for no touchdowns, 1 interception, but he did run for 56 yards. So he could be an interesting spot play or DFS play.
Yeah, hopefully he's grown since then, developed as a man.
He's a good father to his children.
That's all we can ask for. Anyway, Kyler Murray, non-participant today with a hamstring issue. Hard to say if this is really them being cautious with it, or if this is something to worry about. Obviously, he is a running QB. Richmond, you're kind of the track guy here, so I mean, how does the hamstring concern you?
Hamstrings are not great, especially if you're a runner. I would say, especially that first week after a hamstring injury, if you're going to hurt it again, usually you hurt it quickly by trying to push back too soon. Truthfully, it can take like 4 to 6 weeks to get over a hamstring injury, depending on severity, if not longer at times. So kind of makes me worried
Just ask Keenan Allen.
kind of makes me worried that maybe he'd become more of a passer, which that's not his game. So I don't know. I'd be a little bit worried for Kyler Murray in that situation. Seeing as the strength of his game is getting out, maybe it'll help him develop as a passer and learn how to actually not run first. But we'll see.
Well, if he would put Call of Duty down and actually study film for a little bit, maybe he would be better as a passer. But that's neither here nor there.
Just always check the corners. That's how he enters every game.
One of his receivers that's kind of came on, Rondale Moore, they're calling it a hand injury. I don't know if y'all were watching it. I was watching Red Zone, and they had this on at the time. I'm pretty sure it was a dislocated finger because he went right to the sideline, and the trainer kind of grabbed his arm. They had it back like this, and then they were about to pull on his finger doing something, and they cut away from it.
You gotta pull my finger.
That might have been a DK Metcalf injury. Yeah, but Matt, that's something that you would do on the sidelines, no? Or that's
finger. I mean, I've done that a lot of times. It just kind of, I mean, there's a certain way you're supposed to do it, but I mean, theoretically, you can just yank on it and put some traction on it, and it'll pop back into place. And then a lot of times you just tape it up, or especially in the NFL, they just go back in. I don't really know if he went back in or not, but if this was a dislocated finger, and assuming they popped it back in on the sideline, because that's what it looked like, it's going to be sore for a while as he goes, but I'm sure they'll put some tape on it and he'll wear his gloves and play through it. I mean, he was limited today, so it wasn't like he just wasn't participating with it. But yeah, it's fun to pop back in a finger.
Yeah, he played 90% of snaps in that last game, which is pretty much on par with the rest of this season. So it sounds like he was fine last game. It sounds like you're pretty right about playing with a sore finger, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's, them sore fingers. But yeah, so moving on, kind of a bummer is rookie Romeo Doubs. I hear it both ways. He had a high ankle sprain now, so he's going to be out for a while. Eric, what do you think about that, and what do you think about the Packers going forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is not good. I mean, when you think of this injury for Romeo Doubs, he you need to compare it to Mike Williams, and this is a long-standing injury, and we know this is an injury that even when the athlete comes back, the production is probably going to be like noticeably less than it was prior to the injury in his first couple weeks back. So I think if you're looking at this, from a redraft perspective, he might be a drop candidate. Whereas he was probably one of your late round studs. But I think this is really going to hinder him when he does come back, and I think it might be a while for him to come back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's even one of those things that if the Packers continue to lose like they are, I mean, do they even try to bring him back this year?
I mean, you have to think about Aaron Rodgers. Just how many years does he have left? Like, does he really want to make this just a dumpster fire year? Because that's really what they're looking at.
I mean, I'm not saying it's his decision to do that, but it's looking like a dumpster fire year.
Oh yeah, it's already a dumpster fire year for them.
I mean,
that's true.
It's not like they're 7-2 right now. They're what, 3-6, 3-5, maybe 4.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Good. Yeah, if only they had drafted wide receivers.
Well, Christian Watson was a great pick. Speaking of can't stay healthy, which I don't even think we're talking about him today. But another Packers player, Aaron Jones. Seems like it's a low ankle sprain, Richmond. So, and he was a limited participant today. But how we feeling?
I think we feel pretty good about that. He said that he was pretty angry that he was not allowed to go back in the game. He said they took X-rays. X-rays were negative right then and there. He said he wanted to go back. He said, I think he said, reflecting back, he's happy that they appreciate him enough to keep him out of the game for long-term health. But yeah, I think there should be, if he's limited today, there should be almost no question that he plays this week. It seems like he could have gone back in, according to him. So I can't see them keeping him out another week based on that.
Now, Eric, do we think there's concern of him kind of having the JT route of goes back in and re-aggravates it, then is out?
I mean, for sure, but I think one of the bigger issues with Jonathan Taylor was that he started the season like with that, I think the toe injury, and then it became the ankle injury, and so I think Jonathan Taylor had, more of a long-standing foot ankle problem that just made it tougher to recover from. But you're right, like anytime there is even one of these lower grade ankle injuries, you're totally at risk of playing half the game and then coming out for the second half because you re-aggravated it. And that's essentially what happened with Jonathan Taylor. I think he kept playing, but his first half metrics were pretty good. And his second half, after he apparently re-aggravated the ankle, he just wasn't the same athlete. So he might be a player that even if he's playing Aaron Jones, then you fire him up in your lineup. He looks pretty good, but then he just falls off in the second half of the game. So he's a shaky play, just considering how recent this is from the injury.
Well, speaking of JT falling, he has currently fell to running back 6 in keep trade cut. Kenneth Walker is now number 1 with Travis Etienne behind him at 2. What are your guys' thoughts? I know we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, and then we kind of stopped it because I wanted to get y'all's thoughts here. But is that crazy, or are we like feeling good about them that high?
I think that's a little crazy. Kenneth Walker, I mean, I think the Seahawks after this year is kind of a mystery as to what that offense will really be. Who knows how long Geno is the guy there? Who knows what their offense becomes post Geno if they decide to go somewhere else next year, if they keep him. So, I mean, although to say Jonathan Taylor's quarterback situation is not exactly solid either, but I think we kind of know what that offense is going to be. Maybe Jeff Saturday is going to come in and totally throw a wrench in things as he leads them on to multiple Super Bowls, as I think they hope is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, ETN is definitely, I mean, he looks good too. I mean, him and Walker both look like great talents. So I think they both have the potential to be up there, but I feel like it's too early to call them necessarily locks to be ahead of Jonathan Taylor long term.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ken Walker is playing extremely well. I think he was dogged before the season big time in a lot of the rookie drafts as being not anywhere near Breece Hall's caliber of a fantasy player.
I apologize. I think some of the people in this room may have said such things.
Yeah. I've apologized publicly.
Make yourself known.
Eric.
I also dog him.
I have the text message receipts to show anybody who doesn't know, where Eric told me he has no tangibles. He's not good. He wasn't good in college, and he's not fast.
Did I say all that? I don't think that's true.
My God, do you hate his mom too? Like,
I was lower on him than Drake London and Treylon Burks and Breece Hall for sure.
I mean, I was as well.
As many were. But I think Ken Walker over proven studs like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, even though they're a little bit older. I mean, these guys have the ability to be game breaker. These guys are like generational talents. So I don't know if I would put Ken Walker as the dynasty RB1 just because he's playing well and is relatively young. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. If anyone, it should be Travis Etienne. But we've seen the tides turn for the running backs rankings, even in this season, pretty heavily.
Yeah, it's just such a roller coaster of keep trade cuts just in the moment. But let's talk about Etienne. I mean, we'll do this just real quick. He recovered from that Lisfranc surgery very well. We were worried at the beginning of the year. They kind of brought him on slow, but he's looking like a stud.
Yeah.
So I remember us talking about that a lot, Eric, last year about how we were pretty concerned with him coming back. So, I mean, does this kind of change the way we think about Lisfranc injuries going forward?
For me, yeah. I mean, I think it just goes to show that a lot of the research that our opinions are partially based on is based on old medicine. Anything that comes out into the research is about 10 years old. Travis Etienne, is also just an individual athlete. So, you can compare him against the masses, but he has his own factors that, apparently got him back to stud level. So I think, it just goes to show that you really can't dog an athlete, because of one injury that is historically tough on players, because Etienne is proof in the pudding for somebody that's really bounced back well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this just goes to show, I mean, everyone thought James Robinson, those first two games were going to just be the dude there. And then next thing you know, he's getting traded and Etienne just takes over. So
he looked good too, by the way, from his Achilles injury.
He did. I think it just goes to show it's important to be patient with them coming off of injury going forward. And that's with any injury, really.
Look at Saquon.
Yeah, Saquon. I mean, unless it's Adrian Peterson winning MVP the year after he tears his ACL, but
yeah, that you shouldn't expect probably. But
definitely not.
Yeah. But I mean, I think actionably it shows that, the injury discount is real. And if the price is right, in terms of trade value, then you should absolutely take the risk, because you could get Etienne cheap. And now all of a sudden you have dynasty RB2, right? Like that's totally.
He was definitely cheap before the year. And I mean, especially maybe in the middle of last year and stuff. But then it backfires sometimes too. You buy the Cam Akers dip and somehow his price goes lower than
I think all of us were advocating not to buy the Cam Akers dip though.
I know we were. And so we're we're right every now and then about stuff.
Especially when we choose Devin Duvernay as our stud of the week.
He's my hero that lets me down when I need him most. But anyway, let's talk about another receiver that's apparently been doing well lately. Kansas City Chiefs star Mecole Hardman popped up on the injury report today with an abdomen injury, and he was a non-participant. Richmond, what could that mean?
That could mean a lot of things. Yeah, that's a vague kind of thing. Not know exactly what happened. Yeah, abdomen injury. I mean, that could be an oblique injury. That could be something along the lines of a hernia. That could be abdomen injury. Could be, I mean, that could be something more internal. I mean, that's a lot of potential there for Mecole Hardman to have something going on. So it's hard to say without knowing what really is going on, like what kind of timeline we could be looking at for him or what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, kind of worst case scenario, it's a hernia. I mean, best case scenario, it's
he got headbutted in the gut.
Right, I got a bruise on my tum.
That's in the cards if you call it abdomen injury.
Right, very possible. And so it's just we don't have a lot of information to go off of. It's tough to really trust anyone in that Kansas City offense anyway. That's not Travis Kelce. He's the only one that seems consistent to me.
Although Juju has been really racking up the targets lately.
True. Juju hasn't been bad. But it's just they kind of just sling it all over. I mean, and last week, Mahomes threw like 60 sometimes.
Yeah, and that's why you want to take the chance on athletes in this offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless it's Clyde.
Unless it's any of the running backs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't play them.
Speaking of this offense, what do you think of Kadarius Toney? Is this his time?
I've been holding back from saying anything to you guys. I talked about him last week, Eric. You probably missed that.
Yeah.
I know you watched the show while me and Matt were on it, though, right? Later on.
I did chime in. I did watch the show when I was in the car, for sure.
So Kadarius Toney, 2 catches in the first half, and then he hid behind Andy Reid so nobody could see him to put him back in the game. So he just sat out for the second half, I guess. But yeah, 2 catches in the first half. So just gotta be patient and wait for him to actually read and learn the offense. I think he'll be pretty good once he actually has a full week to get into the offense.
Well, knowing his history of learning offenses, I'm not counting on that. Wasn't that one of the big reasons it took him so long at Florida to get going? Is because he couldn't?
No, because he was a quarterback first. He transferred from quarterback to wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
He had 2 years as a quarterback, and then 1 year as a wide receiver where he's okay. Then second year, I think as wide receiver is when he really took off.
Okay, fair enough.
So is he not injured? Is this like a Darren Waller preseason injury? Is that what happened?
Darren Waller's always injured.
I thought Darren Waller was just holding out.
So what's he holding out for now?
I don't know. He doesn't want to be in Las Vegas anymore.
I don't know.
Much money.
He showed up to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were like, "Yeah, his hamstring's all good now."
Crazy how that works.
Different doctors.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, really, the only other one that popped up today on the list was Dameon Pierce for Houston, who was a limited participant with chest/shoulder injury. Eric, is this kind of the same as abdomen that we really don't know what it means?
I mean, he was a limited participant, and really, I think this is just running back that runs hard, is feeling sore and needs a break. This is how it reads to me. I think that he'll probably play this week, and I think if you just follow the practice reports, that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, now we just have some updates here. It appears Debo's healthy, which that's good. He was taken off the injury reports and everything with that I believe it was hamstring injury.
Yeah, but that's a recurrent thing for him. So I feel really shaky about him.
Even back to college, which we've talked about before. He dealt with that a lot in college. Keenan Allen, I guess we're about to test your theory about receivers as they get older and their hamstrings.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Julio Jones, Kenny Galladay, Allen Robinson, takedown. This injury has taken down a lot of big names as they've gotten older. So we'll see how Keenan Allen does. But I think that it's starting to form a solid sample size that says it does not look good this year or going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Treylon Burks is able to come off of IR now. He started practicing. Richmond, is this good for Tennessee's non-existent passing game?
I think it's very good for whoever's throwing the ball in Tennessee to have somebody to throw to. That's not Robert Woods or whoever else they've had. Okonkwo.
Name the other receivers, Richmond.
Nick Johnson. That's one. He's on my
Kyle
team somewhere. Oh, who's that other guy?
I don't know.
There's a white guy out there somewhere. I can't think of his name. Is it Kyle Phillips?
I think Kyle Phillips is out right now. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, you could have said anyone. I don't know their names. So
yeah, the Westbrook guy. I have him on my dynasty teams. I thought he was going to be something, but nope, not yet.
Yeah, they definitely need some help there. Zeke and Swift were both limited participants today. Josh Reynolds was a non-participant. I mean, he's not a real big name, but he's been useful for fantasy teams this year, just sort of on a little throw in if you need a bye week help and stuff. Cooks, non-participant with his wrist injury. That apparently kept him out of the game / being mad that he wasn't traded last week.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, who knows what's happening in Houston right now? I think that's just, aside from Dameon Pierce, I think that's a pass.
Yeah, Houston's playing for next year. Houston's playing for 3 years. They're the dynasty team of the NFL right now.
Always rebuilding.
Yeah. Colts are getting there. They're the, oh crap, we're really not that good. We need to blow this up.
So we hired Jeff Saturday.
We got Sam Ehlinger as our QB. We're going good here. But their running back was a limited participant today, JT. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's good. That's a good sign if you're wanting to fire him up. But this feels very reminiscent of Saquon Barkley last year, where he was relatively healthy, but he just didn't have that transcendent stud factor that you drafted him for. So you kind of have to play him if he's starting, but you might not get what you're looking for.
For sure. Waller, limited participant with his hamstring injury. Kenny Galladay, limited participant. Mike Evans with his weekly Wednesday limited participation. Another ankle injury. Speaking of Tennessee, Tannehill, limited participant too. Apparently his ankle injuries still bothering him.
Are they phasing him out, or is this?
I don't think so, because they don't want Malik Willis to throw the ball.
Yeah,
he's clearly not ready.
And I mean, I'm not saying that maybe he is the future. I don't know, but they clearly don't want him out there right now.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, what's their record? Are they competing?
They're
They are,
competing.
right?
They're like 5-3 or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So they're just wanting Tannehill to be healthy.
Yeah, and so I mean, hopefully he comes back. Hopefully Burks comes back, and Tennessee can do a little bit of something. And then Dotson could return this week, and Elijah Mitchell's also eligible to come off IR now. So I mean, obviously he's not going to step into a role now that they have McCaffrey. But I think this is going to be more for his long-term NFL health. I think this will be better for him to kind of be that change of pace back. He clearly wasn't able to hold up.
Yeah, and they need that on their offense. I don't think they really like the guys they have left over after getting rid of Jeff Wilson. I think they're really waiting for Elijah Mitchell to take some of the load off of CMC.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of does it with the injuries. Did we miss anyone that y'all know of?
No, sir.
I don't think so.
Okay. No, I feel like we pretty much hit them all. Moving on. Richmond, do you have a flag plant this week?
I do. If Josh Allen isn't able to go, Case Keenum revenge game against the Vikings.
Oh.
Minneapolis Miracle, Case Keenum. You know who he threw the ball to win that game? Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs' second biggest game of all time, 173 yards in one game. Case Keenum.
See,
hot fire.
This is when you say things like that, I really start to think the NFL's rigged. Because
drop your quarterback, pick up Case Keenum. I don't care who it is.
I mean, okay, you convinced me.
Yep.
Eric,
I like it though. That's a hot play. I like that.
Eric, do you have a flag plan?
Yeah, my flag plan is someone who's played well all season, but I think he's really in line for a major, target share this week, and it's Allen Lazard. I think that with Romeo Doubs out this week, Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the only guy that he trusts on this offense, and it's going to be some split between Allen Lazard and Aaron Jones. And Lazard has been the guy, the whole season. He's a top 20 receiver or top 25 receiver, depending on how you play. So I think that Lazard's going to really have himself a good day with Doubs out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my flag plan of the week is Devin Duvernay. No, I'm going with someone else that's kind of burned some people the past couple of weeks, Tyler Higbee, because I don't think Stafford's going to play, and Arizona gives up a ton of points to the tight end position. And who's the backup again? Wolford, whatever his name is going to need that safety blanket of a tight end to really just kind of pepper with targets.
Yeah, his target share has really fallen off in the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. It hasn't been great for him, but I think that changes this week.
I like it.
All right. Well, once again, since Patrick has abandoned us, no trivia this week. Hopefully next week we get back to our trivia goodness. Guys, do y'all have any closing thoughts?
Peanut butter toast.
Peanut butter toast.
Interesting.
Sounds yummy.
I don't know if I can compete with that. But yeah, can't compete with that one. It's
great advice. Great advice. You heard it here
for everyone.
You heard it here first. Peanut butter toast. All right. Well, that does it. This was fun. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Gridiron Ratings for helping us put this on. Yeah, been fun. Have a good one.